Good afternoon, everybody. This is Irene Weisman, immigration attorney. Today is Monday, December 23rd, 2024. Today, I want to discuss something called Affidavit of Support, Form I-864. It's a binding contract. It's a form I-864, and once signed, it's a binding contract between the person who signed it and the U.S. government. And it's a form that is central in pretty much all family-based immigration cases. Not all, because certain immigrants do not require this form, such as people who have an approved abused petition, I-360, and various other applicants that are, basically also humanitarian. So if it's a humanitarian green card, such as asylee, refugee, VAWA, UT, humanitarian, employment-based, they don't require it. If it's a family-based, if you're sponsoring your children, your spouse, mom, dad, siblings, that's when it's required. That's when Form I-864 is used. And once, basically, as I said, it is once signed, it becomes an enforceable contract between the person who signed it, the petitioner, and the U.S. government. What terminates this contract? When your beneficiary, the intending immigrant, when that person becomes a U.S. citizen, or when they have paid 40 quarters or 10 years into the U.S. tax system and filed their taxes, that person permanently leaving the United States, or death. Okay, so that's what stops the contract. Divorce does not stop the obligations under the Affidavit of Support requirements. What does it do? It basically ensures that the intending immigrant will not become a public charge. Who is a public charge? A person who is dependent on government resources, okay, public assistance. So this form is used to make sure that the intending immigrant will not become a public charge. Who brings a lawsuit? Basically, it's up to the U.S. government to bring this lawsuit if they think that somebody who is not supposed to started receiving public benefits that they are not supposed to receive, and it is up to the U.S. government to bring that lawsuit against the person who signed the Affidavit of Support. And likewise, in divorce proceedings, when the petitioner signed the I-864, the Affidavit of Support, that can also be used to argue spousal support for the immigrant spouse. Now, when it's not just enough to sign the Affidavit of Support, when we submit it to USCIS, we have to provide supporting documents. So we have to provide at least last year's tax returns. We have to provide the W-2 or the 1099. We have to show proof of immigration status. The sponsor on the Affidavit of Support has to be either a U.S. citizen or a U.S. lawful permanent resident. They have to physically reside in the United States. That is one of the requirements. So we have to provide their address. We have to provide proof of immigration status, W-2, 1099, at least last year's income taxes. If you're dealing with the National Visa Center, then we provide last 3 years of income taxes. If also when we're dealing with the National Visa Center, or when we have a 1099, we have to provide what are called income tax printouts. So that's not the form 1099 that your accountant gives you when you go to an accountant or when you do your own taxes, and the taxes are done, you sign them, and they give you like this big packet, that's like a stack of papers. that's the federal and the state tax returns. You get the copy of it. So we provide the federal portion of it, not the state portion of it, to USCIS when we submit this paperwork, and when a person is self-employed, or when we're dealing with the National Visa Center, or even with USCIS, it's a really good practice to submit the tax transcripts. What are the transcripts? They are available from irs.gov. By the way, great. I like their website. It's a little bit of a pain to get in, but once you're there, all your information is there. You can see when you can retire. You can see how much money you're going to be getting from the system. I'm diverting now from my subject, but if you don't have the IRS account, create one, because you can see a lot of useful, good things in there, about yourself and about your retirement, so you can potentially plan for your future. But basically, once you are in your account, you're going to see tabs for like many different things, and one of them is the IRS tax transcripts, tax return transcripts. There's also tax account transcripts. We don't need that. We need the tax return transcript, and that document comes directly from the IRS, and it shows what you've paid, how much you paid, the fact that it was in fact paid, and that's a better document to use than anything else. Okay, so we provide all those documents along with the signed affidavit of support as proof that you, the petitioner, earn enough money. If you, the petitioner, do not earn enough money, you can't obtain something that's called a joint sponsor. So it can be anybody, a friend, a family member, U.S. Permanent resident or U.S. citizen resides in the United States. They will also have to sign this affidavit of support and provide all the same documents. So obviously that person who is your friend or your family member, they have to understand what it is they're signing, what it is they're getting themselves into, by becoming the joint sponsor for your relative, for the intending immigrant, because as I said, it does carry some legal implications along with it. So there are different forms. There's the I-864, that's a form mostly used. There's also the I-864A. That form is used for household members. Okay, so sometimes we have a husband and wife. It's one of them does not earn enough money, and we can use that form to supplement. Okay, so now it becomes a contract between those household members as well, along with the government. So it can get really tricky. If the person does not earn enough money but has assets, we can supplement the assets in lieu of income. It's just that the amount of the assets, they have to be readily convertible to cash, and the amount is much larger. Okay, so under the regular affidavit of support, the earned income, like the household income, it has to be above 125% of the poverty guidelines. When we're using assets, it's 5 times. It's 3 times when you're sponsoring a child or a spouse, a minor child or a spouse, and it's 3 times that, and if it's anybody else, then it's 5 times that. And then we have to show how that the money is there. If it's in a bank account, it's easy, right? But it can get real tricky with real estate, because then we have to subtract the amount of the mortgage. We have to show how much the house is worth now, or with that real estate, how much it's worth right now. Then, stocks can be used. Anyways, it has to be readily convertible to cash, okay? So it can get tricky. Usually when I use assets, always receive requests for additional evidence from the government, always able to support what I'm telling them. But I do, I know that if I'm doing that, I'll probably receive requests for additional evidence, prepare my clients for it. And just, no matter how much evidence we put forth up front to avoid receiving that request for additional evidence with the assets, I don't know, somehow we just always do. We always receive that request for additional evidence, and then we deal with it separately. What else did I want to say about the affidavits of support? Let me see. You have to properly calculate the household size, because you have to, the form is a little bit tricky. You got to get used to it. So if you don't know how to use it properly, just, again, it's good to work with an attorney to begin with. Occasionally I have clients come to me when they have already submitted the paperwork themselves, but they received a request for additional evidence for the affidavit of support because either it was filled out incorrectly or wrong information was sent supporting evidence. Usually it's the the form that was incorrectly done, and of course we can fix the problem there and then, but once again, just try to figure it out, try to do it with the lawyer, try to do it right the first time around. Okay, so that's your quick run around on the Affidavit of Support form I-864. Have a great day, everybody. I will talk to you hopefully tomorrow.